some big decisions that need to be made in the Catalan Parliament behind me here, Yolo. The lawmakers today will decide whether or not they're going to lift the suspension on the Declaration of Independence. Now, you'll remember just after the disputed referendum there on October 1st, the president did actually declare independence, but he suspended that declaration for 2 months to allow dialogue with the Madrid central government. Now, if the Parliament here is going to declare independence unilaterally, they're going to need to move pretty quickly because, as you just heard, it looks like those direct rule measures are going to be approved by the Senate. So they've possibly only got a couple of hours where they're still in control of this Parliament to make that declaration. But it's very clear that the lawmakers inside are quite divided. We heard from Carles Puigdemont yesterday. He gave away the idea that perhaps we would call fresh early elections, and maybe that would mean Madrid didn't have to go ahead with Article 155, another word for direct rule, but that didn't happen. So last night, quite heated debate in Parliament from the opposition party members who have accused Carles Puigdemont, the president, of putting in jeopardy this generation of Catalonians and the next generation of Catalans as well. We are more likely to hear today from the government side, and they're the pro-independence parties within this Parliament. There's around 70 pro-independence members inside the Parliament. There's around 50 who are against independence, and there's around 12 kingmakers. But there are some people who appear to be wavering a little, even within the independence movement, who are not quite prepared to go ahead with this unilateral decision to declare independence. So what happens now is certainly very tense inside this Parliament. There are even calls for there to be a secret ballot so that people don't feel too scared to perhaps vote against independence or vote for independence if that's what they think should happen.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it, in the democratic Parliament, especially in Europe. So what about the reaction from people on the streets? We've seen big demonstrations for and against independence in Catalonia.
And we're going to see that again today, Yolo. We understand that one of the main grassroots pro-independence party has put a huge call out for supporters to come down here, actually come to Parliament as close as they can get. I should mention that it's fairly well cordoned off, about a 100-metre radius around Parliament where the general public can't get to. But they're being called to come to those cordoning blocks and start protesting. And one of the reasons, we believe, is that if they're at this Parliament, as we just heard from Madrid, it's very possible that Carles Puigdemont and possibly some of his cabinet as well could be held responsible for that, and they could be arrested. And as we heard as well, he could spend up to 30 years in jail if found guilty of rebellion, which is the charge that they're being threatened with if they do declare independence. So the idea from these pro-independence supporters is that they would block access to the Parliament so that the police couldn't actually get through and arrest those inside. So we could see some very hot action on the streets as the day unfolds. But we're also expecting on Sunday a huge protest from the anti-independence groups, the campaigners who want to take to the streets to give their say. They often call themselves the silent majority. They believe they're not heard in this debate, that it's often kidnapped really by those pro-independence supporters. So we are going to see the streets come alive here in Barcelona, whichever way this goes.